First contact gone wrong. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the HFS Horizon, Earth's most advanced deep space vessel, watching as the unknown objects approached through the darkness of space. The ship's quantum sensors had detected them passing Jupiter's orbit just hours ago. Dozens of perfectly geometric shapes that defied known physics, moving with impossible precision. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension building in her chest. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their fingers dancing across holographic displays as they analyzed the incoming data. Objects maintaining formation. "Admiral," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his tactical station. "We're counting 73 distinct vessels, if we can call them that. They're unlike anything in our database." The objects drew closer, their surfaces seeming to shift and flow like liquid metal, but maintaining rigid crystalline structures. They were beautiful in their alienness, but something about their approach formation sent chills down Chen's spine. 20 years of space warfare experience had taught her to trust those instincts. "Open all frequencies," she ordered. "Let's try talking before things get complicated." The communications officer, Emily Walsh, nodded and activated the array. "Channel open, Admiral." Chen straightened her uniform and spoke clearly. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Helios Defense Fleet vessel Horizon. You are approaching restricted space. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." The response came not as words, but as a burst of data that flooded their systems. The ship's AI translated it into comprehensible form, displaying it across their screens. The message was brief and dismissive. "Primitive biological constructs detected. Civilization development insufficient for meaningful interaction. Commencing standard protocol for underdeveloped species." "They're powering up something," Rodriguez called out, his voice tense. "Energy readings are off the charts." Chen's eyes narrowed. She'd seen first contact situations go wrong before, but something about these beings' casual dismissal of humanity struck a nerve. "Shields up. Alert the fleet. And get me a direct line to Earth Command." Before she could say more, the lead alien vessel released a pulse of energy unlike anything their sensors had ever recorded. It passed through their shields as if they weren't there, causing every system on the bridge to flicker. "Multiple systems failing," the engineering officer reported, fighting with his controls. "They're not even trying to damage us. They're just testing us, like we're some kind of experiment." Chen gripped her command rail as another pulse hit them. "Launch probes. I want every piece of data we can get on their technology, and send everything we have back to Earth Command. If these beings think we're primitive, let's show them how dangerous primitive can be." The Horizon's automated defense systems came online, launching a spread of quantum-tipped missiles. The alien vessels didn't even attempt to evade. Instead, the missiles simply passed through them as if they were ghosts, detonating harmlessly in space. "Impossible," Rodriguez breathed. "Their hull composition is shifting faster than our targeting systems can track. It's like they exist in multiple states simultaneously." Chen watched as more alien ships emerged from what appeared to be tiers in space itself. Their formation was expanding, but not in any pattern that made tactical sense. It was as if they were conducting some kind of cosmic dance, with Earth's fleet as merely an audience. "Admiral," Walsh called out, her voice shaking slightly. "We're receiving reports from the outer colonies. Similar vessels are appearing throughout the solar system. They're everywhere." Chen's mind raced. Humanity had prepared for first contact scenarios, had built up their defenses, developed new technologies. But this was beyond anything they had imagined. These beings weren't just technologically superior. They operated on principles that seemed to defy reality itself. But as she watched another pulse of energy disable 3 more human ships without firing a single conventional weapon, something clicked in her mind. The aliens' very perfection, their absolute precision, might just be their weakness. They were so advanced, so perfectly evolved, that they had lost something essential, something uniquely human. "Get me Earth Command," she ordered, a plan already forming. Tell them to activate Project Prometheus. And tell them, she paused, a grim smile forming on her face. Tell them it's time to show these beings why humanity's greatest strength has always been our imperfection. As the message was sent, the alien vessels began their first real attack. Space itself seemed to bend around them as they unleashed weapons that operated on principles humanity had barely begun to theorize about. But Chen stood firm, watching as her fleet took heavy losses, but collected valuable data with every hit. The aliens might have mastered the fundamental forces of the universe, but they were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapons had never been their technology. It was their creativity, their ability to think in ways that defied logic and reason, their willingness to try the impossible simply because no one had told them they couldn't. All ships, Chen broadcast to her remaining fleet, implement random pattern delta. Show them what chaos really looks like. The human ships began moving in completely unpredictable patterns, their formations breaking apart in ways that would have horrified any tactical officer. But for the first time since the encounter began, the alien vessels seemed to hesitate, their perfect geometric formations wavering slightly as they encountered something their probability matrices couldn't predict: human irrationality. As the Horizon's systems continued to fail under the alien onslaught, Chen sent one final message to Earth: first contact hostile. Enemy capabilities beyond current technology. Implementing Emergency Protocol Omega. Project Prometheus is now authorized for full deployment. Remember, they expect us to be primitive. Let's show them why that's exactly what they should fear. The battle for humanity's survival had begun, and humanity's greatest weapon would not be their technology, but their ability to think in ways that no advanced civilization would ever expect. The aliens had dismissed them as primitive, but they were about to learn that sometimes primitive was exactly what you needed to be. Project Prometheus. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Dr. Maya Patel stood before a wall of holographic displays showing the devastating alien attack across the solar system. But unlike most watching these feeds, she wasn't feeling despair. She was smiling. "They're exactly what we predicted," she said to the assembled team of Earth's most brilliant and unconventional scientists. "Advanced beyond our current understanding, yes, but also predictable in their perfection." The central display showed footage from the Horizon's encounter, the alien vessel's geometric patterns reflecting off the polished surfaces of the underground laboratory. Around her, dozens of scientists and engineers worked frantically at stations filled with technology that would have seemed primitive to their attackers. "Dr. Patel," a voice called from the facility speakers, "Emergency Council is waiting for your briefing." Maya nodded, straightening her lab coat as the wall transformed into a conference room view. The faces of Earth's leadership looked back at her, their expressions grim. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "Project Prometheus is ready for deployment. What you're about to see may seem insane, but I assure you, that's exactly the point." She gestured, and the display shifted to show what appeared to be ordinary construction equipment, salvaged electronics, and pieces of alien technology recovered from previous encounters. "For the past 5 years, we've been doing something that any advanced civilization would consider madness. We've been deliberately avoiding the obvious paths of technological development." The council members exchanged confused looks as Maya continued. "The Void Collective, as they call themselves, operates on principles of perfect efficiency. Their technology, their tactics, their entire civilization is built on the assumption that there is an optimal way to do everything. But humanity, we're messy, we're inefficient. We take wrong turns, and sometimes find they lead somewhere incredible." She walked over to what looked like a primitive radio antenna crossed with crystalline alien technology. "This device, for instance, we took salvaged pieces of their quantum communication arrays and combined them with 20th century radio technology. By our calculations, it shouldn't work at all. But because we deliberately introduced imperfections, created interference patterns that no logical being would ever consider." Maya activated the device. The holographic displays flickered, and suddenly they could see through the eyes of the alien vessels themselves. We can tap directly into their network. They're so perfect, so advanced, that they never considered defending against imperfect technology. One of the council members leaned forward. Dr. Patel, are you suggesting we fight an advanced alien civilization with intentionally primitive technology? No, Maya replied, her eyes gleaming. I'm suggesting we fight them with impossible technology. Every engineer in history has tried to eliminate interference, reduce noise, perfect their systems. We've done the opposite. We've created devices that work because they're imperfect, because they operate in ways that violate everything we know about proper engineering. She brought up another display, showing what looked like standard military vessels. We've retrofitted 3 ships with our hybrid technology. On the surface, they look like normal vessels, but inside, she pressed a button, and the ships seemed to flicker, their forms becoming unstable. They're running on controlled chaos. The aliens' probability matrices can't predict our movements because we're not trying to be efficient. We're deliberately introducing random elements that even we can't predict. The council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs, but Maya raised her hand. I know how this sounds, but consider this. In the first engagement, the Horizon's fleet lasted longest when Admiral Chen ordered random movement patterns. The aliens' perfect predictions failed when faced with human irrationality. We're just taking that principle to its logical, or rather, illogical, conclusion. She moved to another station, where engineers were literally welding pieces of alien quantum crystals to old-fashioned steel plates. Every piece of technology the Void Collective uses is based on perfect crystalline structures, perfect energy patterns. So we're introducing imperfections. We're creating hybrid systems that shouldn't work, that violate every principle of proper engineering. And because they shouldn't work, the aliens have no defense against them. The Council's military advisor spoke up. How soon can these ships be deployed? Maya's expression turned serious. The first vessel, the Prometheus, is ready now. 2 more, the Chaos and the Pandora, will be ready within 48 hours. But there's something else you need to understand. She paused, making sure she had their full attention. These ships, they're not just weapons. They're proof of a fundamental truth that the Void Collective has forgotten. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't perfection. It's the willingness to embrace chaos. She brought up one final display, showing the hybrid ship's theoretical capabilities. We can't beat them with better technology, because their technology is already perfect. But we can beat them with worse technology, technology so crude and illogical that it circles back around to being advanced in ways they can't comprehend. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, the chairman spoke. Dr. Patel, you're telling us that humanity's best chance of survival is to fight an advanced alien civilization with deliberately flawed technology. Maya smiled. No, Mr. Chairman. I'm telling you that humanity's best chance of survival is to be exactly what we are. Beautifully, perfectly imperfect. The Void Collective has mastered the science of perfection. But they're about to learn that there's an art to imperfection, and humanity are its greatest masters. As if to emphasize her point, one of the hybrid devices in the lab sparked, emitting a sound that shouldn't have been possible in normal space. The aliens had dismissed humanity as primitive. They were about to learn that primitive didn't mean powerless. It meant unpredictable, and unpredictable was exactly what humanity needed to be. The Battle of Neptune's Ring. Captain Marcus Rivera stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching Neptune's rings shimmer in the distant sunlight. The ship hummed around him, not the clean, efficient hum of standard engines, but an irregular pulse that seemed to skip beats randomly. Like a heart with arrhythmia, he thought. A deliberately imperfect heart. Status report, he called out, watching as his crew worked at stations that looked like they'd been cobbled together from 3 different centuries of technology. All systems operating at optimal imperfection. Captain, Lieutenant Sarah Wong reported from engineering, her hands dancing across an interface that mixed holographic controls with physical switches. Chaos drive maintaining unstable equilibrium. The Prometheus wasn't alone. Flanking it were its sister ships, the Chaos and the Pandora, each deliberately designed to be as unpredictable as the human spirit itself. Together, they represented humanity's greatest gamble, weapons that work precisely because they shouldn't work at all. Multiple quantum signatures detected, the sensor officer announced. The Void Collective is arriving. Space itself seemed to crystallize as the alien vessels emerged, their perfect geometric forms distorting reality around them. This time, though, they paused upon detecting the human ships, their usual confidence seemingly shaken by readings they couldn't comprehend. "They're scanning us," Wang reported, a grin in her voice, "and getting absolutely nonsensical results. Our hybrid tech is giving off contradictory signatures. According to their sensors, we simultaneously exist and don't exist." Rivera nodded, remembering Dr. Patel's briefing. The Prometheus and its sister ships were designed to be quantum paradoxes, operating in ways that violated the very principles the Void Collective's technology was based on. "All ships, execute pattern Chaos Alpha," he ordered. "Remember, don't think about your movements. The moment you try to be logical, they'll predict you." The three human vessels began to move in ways that defied tactical sense, their paths following mathematical patterns that incorporated random elements from ancient human music, weather patterns, and even children's drawings. The Void Collective vessels, programmed to respond to any possible logical strategy, seemed to hesitate. Then the aliens attacked. Space warped as they unleashed weapons that could rearrange matter at the quantum level. But instead of trying to evade, the Prometheus drove straight toward the energy beams. Activating quantum diffusion field, Wang called out. The ship's hybrid shields, a combination of alien quantum crystals and deliberately flawed human electronics, didn't try to block the attack. Instead, they absorbed it, channeled it through imperfect pathways, and redirected it in ways that shouldn't have been possible. "Return fire," Rivera ordered. "Show them what controlled chaos looks like." The Prometheus's main weapon wasn't a conventional gun or energy beam. Instead, it projected a field of pure probability disruption, a bubble of quantum uncertainty magnified to macroscopic levels. When it hit the lead alien vessel, the perfect crystalline structure began to break down, its very existence becoming uncertain. "Direct hit," the weapons officer cheered. "Their hull structure is destabilizing. They can't maintain quantum coherence in our disruption field." The alien fleet's perfect formation began to break apart as they encountered something their vast knowledge couldn't comprehend. Weapons that worked because they violated the very laws of physics they were based on. Their attempts to predict human movements failed because there was nothing to predict. Each ship was acting on principles of controlled randomness. "They're falling back," the tactical officer reported, surprise evident in his voice. I think we actually scared them." Rivera watched as the alien vessels retreated, their perfect formations now ragged and uncertain. But he knew this was just the beginning. "Send word to Earth Command. Tell them Project Prometheus was a success, but the Void Collective won't stay confused for long. They'll adapt, try to find patterns in our chaos." He turned to his crew, seeing the same mix of excitement and determination on their faces that he felt. That's the beautiful thing about chaos, though. The moment you think you've found a pattern, it changes. As the alien fleet disappeared into quantum space, Rivera couldn't help but smile. The Void Collective had dismissed humanity as primitive, had assumed their technological superiority made victory inevitable. But they had forgotten something crucial. Throughout history, humanity's greatest achievements had often come not from following the rules, but from breaking them in just the right way. "All ships maintain chaos protocols," he ordered, "and prepare for the real battle. Because now that we've shown them we can hurt them, they're going to come back with everything they have." The Prometheus and its sister ships held position near Neptune's rings, their imperfect engines pulsing with deliberately irregular rhythms. They had won this battle by embracing what made them human. Their imperfection, their unpredictability, their willingness to try things that no rational being would consider. The war was far from over, but humanity had proven something important. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't perfect technology or flawless logic. Sometimes it's the ability to look at the impossible and say, why not? As the ships began their journey back to Earth, Rivera looked at the jury-rigged systems around him. The impossible combinations of advanced alien tech and primitive human engineering, and felt a surge of pride. The Void Collective had mastered the science of perfection, but humanity had just reminded them of an ancient truth. Perfection isn't everything. Sometimes the flaws, the chaos, the imperfections, those are what make victory possible. Turning the tide. Admiral Chen watched the holographic display aboard the newly retrofitted Horizon, her eyes tracking the patterns of battle spreading across the solar system. What had started with 3 experimental ships had evolved into something the Void Collective never saw coming. An entire fleet that refused to play by the rules. Status of the retrofit program, she asked, turning to Dr. Maya Patel, who had temporarily joined the Horizon's crew to oversee the implementation of Project Prometheus across the fleet. 37 ships completed, Maya replied, her fingers dancing across a console that merged alien crystalline technology with circuits salvaged from 20th century computers, each one modified in a uniquely flawed way. No 2 ships use exactly the same configuration. It would be too predictable. The tactical display showed human vessels engaged with Void Collective ships across multiple sectors. But unlike the early battles, the geometric perfection of the alien fleet was breaking down. Their formations, once flawless, now showed signs of hesitation and confusion. They're learning, Chen observed, but not fast enough. Every time they think they've found a pattern in our chaos, we change it. The Horizon shuddered as its chaos drive engaged, the ship's very existence becoming a quantum uncertainty. They had taken Dr. Patel's original designs and pushed them further, deliberately introducing new elements of randomness into each ship's systems. Multiple Void Collective vessels approaching, the sensor officer reported. They're trying a new formation. Looks like they're attempting to create a probability matrix to predict our movements. Chen smiled. Let's show them why that won't work. All ships, execute Protocol Pandora. Across the battlefield, human vessels began moving in patterns based on everything from weather systems to stock market crashes to the flight patterns of startled birds. Each ship's chaos drive pulsed with its own unique rhythm, creating a symphony of controlled disorder that the aliens' probability matrices couldn't process. They're retreating in Sector 7, Maya reported, excitement in her voice. Their attempts to predict our movements are actually making them more vulnerable. They're so focused on finding patterns that they're missing the obvious. There are no patterns to find. But victory hadn't come without cost. The tactical display showed the wreckage of human ships that hadn't been retrofitted in time. Their conventional technology no match for the Void Collective's quantum weapons. Each loss was a reminder of what they fought for and why they had to succeed. New contact, the sensor officer called out. Massive quantum signature at the edge of the system. They're bringing in something big. The holographic display shifted to show a structure that defied comprehension, a vast crystalline construct that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. As it approached, reality itself appeared to bend around it. That's their response to our chaos, Maya said, her eyes wide. They're trying to impose order on a fundamental level. That construct isn't just a weapon, it's a reality anchor. They're attempting to force our ships to behave according to their laws of physics. Chen watched as the construct began to emit waves of pure order, creating zones where quantum uncertainty collapsed into singular states. Several human ships caught in these fields suddenly found their chaos drives stabilizing, their unpredictable movements becoming regular and predictable. They're adapting, Chen acknowledged. But so are we. Dr. Patel, remember what you said about humanity's greatest strength? Maya nodded, already understanding. Our ability to embrace chaos, to find strength in imperfection. Exactly. Chen turned to her communications officer. Send this to all ships. Disengage chaos drives. Maya looked startled. Admiral. Trust me, Chen said, a glint in her eye. The Void Collective thinks they figured us out, that they can force us to play by their rules. But they'd forgotten something important. Humans were breaking rules long before we had technology to help us do it. As the reality anchor's field approached the horizon, Chen gave her next order. All ships switched to manual control. No computer assistance, no quantum systems. Just human pilots doing what humans do best, being unpredictable. Across the fleet, trained pilots took direct control of their vessels, their movements guided not by computers or chaos algorithms, but by pure human instinct and improvisation. The Void Collective's reality anchor, designed to impose order on quantum chaos, had no effect on old-fashioned human reflexes and split-second decisions. They're confused, Maya reported, watching the alien fleet's reactions. Their probability matrices can't handle this level of purely organic randomness. They expected us to fight back with technology, not humanity. Chen nodded. That's been their mistake from the beginning. They thought our primitive technology made us weak, but they never understood. Our technology isn't what makes us dangerous. It's our ability to throw away the rulebook entirely. The battle continued to rage across the solar system, but something had fundamentally changed. The Void Collective, masters of perfect order, found themselves facing an enemy that refused to be bound by any rules, technological or natural. Each human ship became a unique expression of controlled chaos, their movements guided by nothing more than human creativity and determination. Send word to Earth, Chen ordered. Tell them to prepare the next phase. The Void Collective wanted to teach us about perfect order. It's time we taught them about perfect chaos. Victory through chaos. The Sol system had become a battlefield unlike any in the history of the galaxy. Hundreds of human ships, each one a unique fusion of primitive technology and quantum impossibility, faced off against the largest Void Collective fleet ever assembled. At the heart of the human formation, the Prometheus, Chaos, and Pandora pulsed with controlled instability, their very existence a challenge to the ordered universe the Collective sought to maintain. Dr. Maya Patel stood aboard the Horizon's bridge alongside Admiral Chen, watching as reality itself seemed to waver between order and chaos. The Void Collective's reality anchors had spread throughout the system, trying to impose perfect order on space itself. But humanity had one final card to play. All ships report ready, Maya said, her voice steady despite the enormity of what they were about to attempt. The quantum resonance cascade is prepared. Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display where the Collective's crystalline fleet hung in perfect geometric patterns. They still think they can predict us, control us, force us to fight by their rules. Time to show them why that's never worked against humanity. The plan was insane. Exactly why Maya believed it would work. They had taken the Collective's own quantum technology and deliberately introduced flaws, creating a cascade of uncertainty that would spread through space itself, not to destroy the aliens, but to force them to confront the one thing they had spent millennia trying to escape: imperfection. Begin the cascade, Chen ordered. All ships, execute final protocol Phoenix. Across the human fleet, chaos drives spun up to maximum power, but instead of trying to maintain quantum uncertainty in small, controlled bubbles, they deliberately let their fields interact and amplify each other. The effect spread outward, a wave of pure probability that made reality itself uncertain. The Void Collective's response was immediate. Their reality anchors pulsed with increased power, trying to maintain order in the face of manufactured chaos. Space itself became a battlefield between perfect crystalline structure and pure quantum uncertainty. They're responding exactly as predicted, Maya reported, watching the energy readings spike. Their need for perfect order is forcing them to commit more and more resources to maintaining it. They can't help themselves. Chen smiled grimly. That's always been their weakness. They're so convinced that order is the natural state of the universe that they can't accept anything else. But we know better. Chaos, change, uncertainty. These aren't flaws to be corrected. They're opportunities to be embraced. The quantum cascade spread further, creating zones where probability itself broke down. Human ships rode the wave of chaos, their crews guided by instinct and improvisation rather than rigid protocols. The Void Collective vessels, trapped by their own perfect nature, found their quantum systems going haywire as they tried to impose order on fundamentally disordered space. Message from the Collective, the communications officer announced. They're asking for dialogue. For the first time since the conflict began, the aliens were reaching out not with dismissal or demands, but with uncertainty. Their perfect confidence had finally cracked. Chen exchanged a look with Maya before responding. Open a channel. The alien consciousness that manifested in their communications system was different from before. Gone was the dismissive tone, replaced by something almost like curiosity. Your species continues to defy probability. You introduced chaos into quantum systems that require perfect order. By all logical analysis, this should have destroyed you as well. How do you survive in chaos? We don't just survive in chaos, Chen replied. We thrive in it. Humanity has never achieved anything great by following the expected path. Our greatest discoveries, our most important breakthroughs, all came from embracing uncertainty and being willing to fail. Your technology, the alien consciousness, seemed to struggle with the concept. It succeeds because it is flawed. This violates all known principles. Maya stepped forward. That's because you're looking for principles that can't be broken. We look for principles that can bend. Perfect order is stagnation. Perfect predictability means no growth, no evolution, no chance for something new to emerge. Across the battlefield, the quantum cascade had reached its peak. Reality itself hung in balance between order and chaos. The Void Collective's fleet remained frozen in their perfect formations, while human ships continued to move in patterns that defied prediction. You offer an alternative, the alien consciousness said slowly. Not perfect order, not pure chaos, but controlled imperfection. We offer change, Chen replied. The chance to learn that strength doesn't come from eliminating flaws, but from understanding how to use them. Humanity isn't perfect, and we never will be. That's exactly why we've survived everything the universe has thrown at us. The quantum cascade began to stabilize, not into perfect order or pure chaos, but into a new state, one where both could coexist. The Void Collected ships started to move, their perfect formations dissolving into more organic patterns. We have existed for millennia, the alien consciousness said, pursuing perfect order, eliminating uncertainty. Yet in mere weeks, your species has shown us something we have forgotten. The universe itself is not perfect. Perhaps we should not try to be. The battle ended not with destruction, but with understanding. The Void Collective, masters of perfect order, had encountered something their vast knowledge couldn't predict. A species that found strength in their flaws, that turned imperfection itself into a weapon. As the alien fleet began to withdraw, not in defeat, but in contemplation, Chen turned to Maya. Think they learned their lesson? Maya watched the quantum readings return to normal, a smile playing at her lips. They learned that dismissing a species as primitive might be the biggest mistake an advanced civilization can make, especially when that primitive species has a habit of turning their limitations into strengths. The human fleet regrouped, their chaos drives settling into more stable rhythms. They had faced an enemy that possessed technology centuries beyond their own, and they had won not by matching that technology, but by embracing what made them uniquely human. Their unpredictability, their adaptability, and most importantly, their perfect imperfection. In the end, the Void Collective had sought to impose their version of perfection on the galaxy. Instead, humanity had taught them that true perfection sometimes means accepting that there's no such thing as perfect at all.